This man is Eric Leedy, aged 92. I haven't seen him for a little while. He came to Iraq with us as a human shield back in 2003. Eric, why are you here today?
Why are we here? Why are we here?
Yeah.
If you don't know, if you don't know, you'll never know. Now, if you don't know, you'll find out soon, I hope.
The entire subject and focus of the trial has become, you exposed war crimes and we don't like the way that you did it.
Come on, fire.
We're gonna shoot the messenger. They're sending a message. This is what will happen to you. You're gonna go to jail for hundreds of years, and they're dragging him all the fucking way to the U.S. to put him in jail because he showed the U.S. for what it really is.
Clear. Clear.
And you claim you're anti-fascist, really? You're anti-tyranny? Yeah, show me, man.
Every stage, the law has been abused in order to victimize Julian. He has been silenced. He has been disappeared. Those who committed the war crimes or responsible for those war crimes have not been held accountable.
Julian publishes through the courage of Chelsea Manning.
Julian is in prison because WikiLeaks is a publisher that specializes in the secrets that states keep the most hidden. Julian revealed war crimes by the US government, the world's superpower, in Iraq and Afghanistan, and the fact that it had normalized, institutionalized torture. This assassination plot was as revenge for what WikiLeaks had published. This is a country plotting to assassinate a journalist because of what he has published. Julian has done nothing wrong, and the prosecution against Julian is the single greatest attack there has been on the First Amendment, and that is Trump's legacy. Julian is not a US citizen. He's an Australian citizen who was working as a journalist in the United Kingdom. He owes no allegiance to the US government. Since the 11th of April 2019, Julian has been inside Belmarsh High Security Prison, which is the harshest prison in the UK, known as Britain's Guantanamo Bay. It's also a difficult struggle for him mentally. Julian suffers from clinical depression. He has all his adult life. I have 2 children with Julian. They are 3 and 4. Our eldest was born when Julian was still in the embassy in 2017, and he would go to the embassy to visit Julian. We kept it secret so a friend would come in, posing as his father.
That is the danger posed by the US prosecution of Julian Assange. And I have to say that the time for fence sitting has run out. Colleagues, this is our last chance for a say on this case. If Assange is surrendered, he's gone. How can we talk about rule of law and not resoundly condemn this criminal prosecution and demand his release?
You know, across the country, we've learned there's so much support in America from, from normal Americans for Julian Assange. We've moved all the way up the East Coast from Miami through DC, Washington, Philadelphia.
All right, so we're outside Merrick house for a vigil. Really good turnout so far. This is right across the street from his house. So he can see us. He's home, apparently. He can see us. Hi, everybody. Hi.
Free Assange. Free
Hi.
all political prisoners.
Assange. We're live on A4A.
Really important thing is that if this goes ahead, if this extradition and persecution of Julian Assange goes ahead under the auspices of the Espionage Act of 1917, if that goes ahead, then every news outlet, publisher, publication and journalist can face the same prosecution for any comment whatsoever that the United States Department of Justice doesn't really like, or Washington finds obnoxious or not to its taste.
I just want to say this. Until Julian Assange is free, none of us are free. The fight for Julian Assange's freedom is the fight for our freedom. The freedom to expose the lies of government. The freedom to expose war crimes. And the freedom to tell the truth. Orwell has been credited as said journalism is printing something that power doesn't want printed, and everything else is public relations. Well, every day Julian Assange is in prison. That is a mockery of our society's supposed commitment to freedom of speech and freedom of the press.
There are so many people here that really care about this case and care about their First Amendment rights.
I know
mean,
we
people
can.
allege that I'm Glory Jones, Dingo, but I'm just an anonymous personality, you know?
Yeah, I don't know who Glory Jones is. I've never met Glory Jones.
Howdy, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us. This is our 148th or 147th, one of the two vigils for this evening. I think
148, I think.
we might be off. I might be off a number.
I think you are, because I'm probably not.
I'm also going to be off numbers. But nonetheless, thank you very much for joining us. We will have Glory on the second half to be talking about the Commander X updates and everything that's awesome happening over there. Scott Horton will be jumping in soon, but I do want to run through the numbers before we get everything too kicked off. It has been 4,222 days of illegal and arbitrary detention for Julian Assange. It's been 1,175 days since the WikiLeaks founder was trafficked from the Ecuadorian embassy after being sold to the US and the UK for a $4.2 billion loan from the International Monetary Fund to the nation of Ecuador. It's been 539 days since District Judge Vanessa Baratzer's January 6th ruling denying Julian Assange bail after personally ordering his release and no extradition in his case. It's been 1,770 days of inhumane pretrial detention for the alleged Vault 7 whistleblower Joshua Schulte. At least 1,735 of those days have been spent under special administrative measures since October of 2018. We have 1,174 days since the persecution of Olabini started. We have 455 days since Daniel Hale pled guilty to a single charge under the Espionage Act. 261 of those days have passed since he was transferred to a communications management unit in the penitentiary Marion in Southern Illinois. We have 387 days since Commander X was illegally arrested in Mexico and rendition to the United States, and this morning he was released. We have 211 days since Craig Murray was released from HMP Edinburgh. We have 380 days since Reality Winner was set free. We have 838 days since Chelsea Manning was released, and 588 days of freedom for Jeremy Hill.
But X is free.
X is free.
X is free. It's like we can't even like add it to the numbers because it's like less than 24 hours. There are no days yet. Right. There are 0 days.
The pictures of him are so like heartbreaking. Like it's exciting to see him free, but just like what has happened.
A year. Over a year. I think wasn't it like June 14th or something? So I think it's over a year that he was incarcerated, that he was held. Such bullshit, dude. Really, it is just such bullshit. But X is free. Like early this morning, 4 something, I think, Pacific. So
4:40, I think.
Something like that. But Gloria will be on later. We're going to talk about that. She was there. She was in the court. She was ready to throw hands. Because they were really like, apparently the prosecutor, we shouldn't talk about it now. We should wait for Jones, but yeah. We'll wait. Because she's going to be fired up. She's going to be a lot of fun because she's probably also exhausted. So there's that.
We in the second half, because Glory might not be in right at 10. The good Kevin Gostola got on Philip DeFranco.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone who knows what Philip DeFranco is, but he's like,
I didn't, but I do know.
Yeah, he's like a 2005, 2006, maybe 2007, whatever year YouTube came out, he started a YouTube channel. So he is as old as the platform. So
that's intense.
Yeah.
That's like, intense.
Like he beat, I don't even know if you know your history of YouTube, but like he beat Kasim G back in the day and was able to start his own channel underneath the monopoly of like the YouTube, like the TYT almost of their day.
Oh.
And then he was able to like break their monopoly of major YouTube stars. It was a pretty crazy thing to see him go through.
Yeah. But that's cool. Like that he has a huge following.
Yeah.
Huge. Like, what'd you say? Like 6.2 million or something crazy?
6.31.
And he just had Kevin Gostola on to talk about Julian Assange. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And Kevin crushed it, of course. Kevin crushed it.
He does like the shoe on head style videos where it's just super clipped and super cut. So it's like really fast takes back to back. Then there's Kevin. Like just explaining things meticulously and intellectually.
Because he's very like thoughtful and precise and
So it was cool because it was the most viewed part of the whole segment. There was no viewer drop off in the YouTube numbers. Like it was.
Let's go.
Yeah.
And Kevin crushed it as always. Well done, sir. Well, I'm so excited about that. I'm so excited. There was another guy too who had a huge following, who did a video on Assange, and it was great for like the first 10 minutes. And then it was like, I think the first thing he said was something about Russia. That he helped Russia, and I was like, oh. No, and then there was a couple other. I'll have to look. I'm not good at the YouTube star.
Well, Jake Tran did that. The one we did a couple weeks ago.
Is that who I'm talking about?
Yeah, where he was like super spot on.
Oh no! It's a different one. But yes, that one too. Yeah.
He actually doesn't do this. He doesn't even talk about that point in history.
I just want to talk to them. Like, you got some stuff wrong. Can we have a chat?
I'll send invites, emails to everybody. Like I'm not.
All right.
Yeah.
I need to find the other guy. I forget his name. Kimber actually. We were talking about Kimber and I. We both like hit him up in the comments. But and then also she tweeted at me. Apparently, like Hassan has had like their friends. So I was like, oh, okay. Not that it's. I would still like to talk to him.
Yeah.
I mean, you have a huge platform. You got some stuff wrong. I would like to talk to somebody who knows. That would be cool.
Ask for like an Areta video.
Yeah. Yeah, just like the information's out there. Anyway. All right, so
you said you had protest stuff to talk about?
I do have protest stuff to talk about. I have a lot of stuff I want to talk about actually. Oh, first of all, yesterday was Andrew's birthday.
Yeah.
So happy birthday to Andrew. Everybody tell Andrew happy birthday. See, I'm annoying like that. And also it's JB's birthday today.
What?
Yeah. So here, I'm going to pull this up because I love JB. JB, I call him the king of face. He has the best facial expressions of all time. Okay, so I'm going to share this. Did that come up? Yeah, okay. Like, seriously. Look at him. There's like, I don't know, probably 24 different emotions in this one clip. Look at him. The king of face.
He's awesome.
Seriously the best face. And I am such a sucker for somebody who's very expressive.
Yeah.
And actually Afeni's really, I love Afeni too. I really like very expressive people. And JB is the best. And it's his birthday. So happy birthday, Andrew. And happy birthday, JB. Okay. Now I have, Italy. Let's talk about Italy because that's dope. Italy is crushing it. Amazing. Hold on. Okay, yeah, that's right. Okay, so why it feels like my screen's very strange. Okay, so Italy has been doing billboards. And so they now have billboards in 4 cities as of right now, which is amazing. So I'm gonna actually drop their GoFundMe link in the chat. If you would like to help them raise money for billboards, that would be amazing. Okay, that's in the chat. So they have 4 cities now. They have billboards up. Also, obviously, there's a lot of stuff coming up for Julian's birthday. So as always, you should go to Candles for Assange. That's the number 4. Candles for Assange. Because Alex Hills runs that page. She does an amazing job. I don't know how she keeps it all organized, and she memorizes them all too. Like if we had her on right now, she would be able to rattle off. There's 30 different cities so far.
She knows all of them.
She knows all of them. All of them, like dates, locations, times, usually, or at least she knows that there's an action, usually the date for sure. I don't know how she does it. But anyways, Candles for Assange, if you ever are looking for an action almost anywhere, I mean, she really does do global, keeps track of global actions. So go and follow her, and she will update you on all of the events that she is aware of. And she also tries to put out graphics for everybody. And this is like a thread. So she'll individually list each one as the thread continues. So yes, there's lots of actions coming up. San Francisco, London, there's Mexico, Germany, of course, is doing multiple.
Always. Germany has the crazy.
Germany kicks ass.
Yeah.
Germany kicks ass. Like Germany kicks ass, Italy kicks ass, London kicks ass.
They get it more than most other populations.
Yeah, I would say there's an element of that for sure. For sure,
A
yeah.
little bit.
Yeah. But yeah, there's a ton of action. So I'm not going to go through them all because it would take forever. And if Alex were here, I'd be happy to let her do it, but I don't really want to go through them all. That's a lot. So just go to Candles for Assange. I'll put her Twitter in the chat as well. But go there and follow her and find an action near you. If there's not an action near you, be the action near you. How about that? Poster board, Sharpie, sidewalk. Instant protest. So go forth. Spread the word. What else do I have?
Claire Daley video.
Oh, yes. Fuck, I didn't pull that up. Hold on. Hold, please.
Scott in the background or no?
Hold. Yes, just got in. Hello. That was great timing, actually. Hey, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you guys doing?
Pretty good. It's good to see you again, as
Yeah, you
always. Yeah, there's a lot going on.
Got that right.
Oh, goodness. So,
Can you hear my fan, by the way? I forgot.
a little bit.
I'll turn it off. Hold on.
We're live now, Scott, just so you know. But yeah, Andrew, we're very unprofessional.
Hey, welcome to my world.
Yeah, we
I'm
don't.
a pirate radio guy.
Yeah.
Hey, can you see behind me my new book?
Oh, the one in the middle?
Yeah, you got to
It's
put
out?
it on full screen there.
It's out? Hold on, let me pull it
Brand new. It should be coming out like any minute now.
Oh, I
Maybe
see
not
it.
till tomorrow.
I see
Hotter than
it.
the sun. Time to abolish nuclear weapons. It's a collection of
Nice.
interviews that I did over the last about 15 years or so with different experts on nukes and all different aspects of it. So you'll like it.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That's really cool.
And it's like not technically out yet. I know you're going to Freedom Fest, right?
Like any minute now. Yes, it'll be for sale at Freedom Fest.
Okay, because I'll be there. I'm covering it for TNT, so I'll
Oh,
be
great.
there. Yeah, I'll be there. I'm gonna get one.
Absolutely.
You have to sign it
So,
for
yeah,
me.
it'll be for sale there. I'm gonna do a book signing and whatever there.
Sweet.
Talk about it
Yay.
on C-SPAN Book TV.
Nice. Yeah, congratulations. That's awesome. I can't wait to read it.
Yeah,
that'll
it's
give
cool.
me something to read on the flight.
I'll tell you, as a collection of transcripts, it's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, we can I should interview you while we're at Freedom Fest. We can talk about it.
Great.
On
Happy
TNT.
to
Let's do it.
Yeah, I'm gonna be there
Yes.
for 3 or 4 days. I'm bringing a whole bunch of the guys from the Institute and from antiwar.com with me too.
Yeah, I know Kyle's
guess
going to be
it's
there.
Kyle
I'm
from
so
antiwar.com,
pumped.
but-
I miss Kyle. Kyle used to be on my show every Monday. And then my show's switching like format. So I don't get to talk to Kyle every Monday. And I miss Kyle now. I love Kyle.
He's the best.
He is the best. He does great. Just like straight down the middle foreign policy reporting. You know what I mean? Like he's really good.
Yep.
So yeah, I like Kyle a lot. He did
Yep,
great
and
at
Connor's really good too. Connor's
yeah.
got a little bit more of my fire to him.
Yeah.
So if I get hit by a bus, those two got the whole thing handled. Not just Mike, although I'm more of a ramp skater.
Oh
You guys are
goodness.
gonna have fun in Vegas though, because
I'm really excited.
like in the Hoover Dam stopped producing electricity recently, I believe. Like the water level fell below
Oh,
the
is that right?
appropriate depth to actually produce electricity for Vegas.
Great.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It sounds awesome in the middle of July.
So
I'm
I
sure it's
think
not
they
going to be
started
hot.
an entire drought just to stop us.
Wow. Yeah, it's going to be great. I'm really excited
Oh,
to
wow, I
go.
hope there's rolling brownouts and stuff while we're there. That'll be exciting.
I know. It's going to be
Right.
so hot. Oh.
Make Vegas even funner. But so a couple, 2 weeks ago, week and a half ago, Priti Patel approved the extradition of Julian Assange from London to the US. There's no surefire guaranteed legal option to even really delay it at this point. And so I was just wondering what your thoughts are around his case and what's been happening to him for the last years now.
Yeah. Well, I am not the expert on the actual legal shenanigans, but I do believe that he's got a couple chances to appeal still, although doesn't look good.
No.
Obviously, the best expert that I know keeping track of all this stuff on the regular basis is Kevin Gotstola from The Dissenter and Shadowproof. He's the guy I turn to whenever there's a new development in the court case. You know, I go right to him to explain what the hell. So I'm no him, but I'm pretty sure what he told me last time was we got a couple more possible appeals here, but
Yeah,
like
I
kind of
did
a
see
done
that
deal.
on Twitter. The Libertarian Party is now taking like a very vocal stance. We talked about that. Like we had
Yeah.
a brief exchange on Twitter about that, and you were like, "This is the new LP. We're gonna," and I was like, "That's right. It's about time."
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
totally.
Like
And
crazy.
I'm pretty sure, like, if you had poked the old LP with a stick, they would have said, "Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Assange," you know, of course. But as far as like really caring about it and wanting to do anything about it, I don't know. But
Yeah.
yeah, the new LP, the sky's the limit. Essentially, I think we're only just beginning to imagine what we can do with it. For example, someone just tweeted, "Hey, you have this lady in Uvalde who broke away from the cops and into the school and rescued her kids, and now the cops are harassing her and this kind of thing. Well, what could the LP do for her?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't know, but I bet we could find a Texas lawyer who we could put up, and if not, you know, get him to represent her pro bono. At least we could pay the legal fees. We could raise the money and make sure that she has a legal professional to help her deal with these scumbags as they come after her like this, something like that, right? Or anything, right? Sky's the limit.
Anything.
Whatever
Do you
cool
think the
creative
LP would
thing that
ever
we
do
can
like
do with it,
physical
you know?
protection for something like that?
I'm
Like if
sorry?
this lady's legit being harassed, do you think they would assist her in that situation, like as a security detail almost?
I don't know, but yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
why
What
not?
can we do? I mean, I don't even know. Right. I mean, at this point, it's a matter of just getting the question asked, trying to figure it out. What can we do? But I bet we could do something. But the first thing is that we care about it. And then the second thing is that, you know, it is this potentially huge and powerful apparatus that we could do something with.
Yes.
You know, especially on the margin, making a lot of, hey, so
Well, that was the power of the Green Party, right? So I come from organizing within the Green Party after the Bernie Sanders movement. And it was the Green Party that actually was able to initiate a lot of recounts across the country and try to secure election integrity. Jill Stein went as far as to suing multiple states and secured transparency for federal elections, I believe. But then that got wiped away with the emergency COVID measures. So it's yeah, having a political party like that on the books is a really powerful mechanism for just
As long as it's
exposing what
legit.
they're doing.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
the
Well,
Green
look, I mean-
Party is not like the Green Party's gone in a wrong direction.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's got to be legit. Like that's why it's cool to see the LP kind of stepping up at this point because, I mean, I would love to see there be. I don't think there's a viable electoral solution, really. You know what I mean? It seems like that system is completely corrupted. But I think that you can certainly put pressure on from if you do it in the right way from inside.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So all tools. Let's use all of them. Let's go. I mean, we got to do
Yeah.
something.
And
That's
look-
what the thing we can do something. I like that. Like there's actual action. We need action.
Yeah. So look, I mean, I'll get back to Assange in just a sec, but in fact, we learned some things about the secret war in Yemen from Julian Assange and WikiLeaks in terms of, I mean, just off the top of my head, the deal that Obama had made that the Saleh government would take responsibility for CIA drone strikes there, even though really everybody knew it was the Americans doing it anyway. And then that was all admitted to in the documents. But so that was chapter 1 of this horrible war in Yemen. But right now, so just right at the same time that, you know, my friends and our friendly faction have taken over the LP is right at the time that we have a ceasefire in the Yemen war. We have the Saudis really trying to find a way to back out of this thing, it seems like, because they keep getting hit inside Saudi. And the Houthis are hitting their oil refineries and these kinds of things and continuing to be successful in doing so. So it looks like the Saudis are really trying to back down and find a way out of this thing. And then right now we have this guy DeFazio from I don't know where introduced the War Powers Resolution to force Biden to end the war. So we have all these things coming together at the same time. A real advantage to press, right as we have something to try to press it with. So that was our idea that we came up with. This would be the first major initiative of the new Libertarian Party, would be just to try to round up, if possible, 10, 20, 30, as many thousand phone calls as we can to people's congressmen to tell them to support this thing. I don't know how many thousands we've gotten so far or what, but, it does seem to be having some effect. And of course, there are all these different leftist activists and anti-war groups and Yemeni peace activists who've been hard at work setting all this up and pushing for all this. But we're just trying to come in for our part and get the word out there. And, I was on the line with some of these Yemeni peace activists, and they were talking about when they were talking to the House staffers, they were saying, please, more phone calls. We really need the phone calls. They really help. From where you're sitting, from where I'm sitting, calling your congressman is like, spitting in the wind or something. But in fact, if it's you and me and him and y'all's cousin Jimmy and your next door neighbor and your coworkers and your mom and your dad and your boyfriend and your girlfriend and everybody who's doing it, then, hey, that's 10 people right there. That's an hour worth of their phone ringing off the hook and them not getting other work done because, geez, apparently people are really upset about this Yemen thing and they won't stop calling about it. So your one little call is one thing. But if all of us are doing this at the same time, it really does make a difference. And I just know that from doing this same damn show for 20 years in a row like this because I don't have any better ideas to do. So, but I just have 20 years worth of discussions with peace activists, especially like the Quakers from the Friends Committee, for example, who and others who spent time on Capitol Hill and swear to me that phone calls do matter when there's a campaign to get a ton of phone calls all coming in at the same time over the same short period of time, a week or 2 or 3 or 4 weeks, whatever it is, that really does make the difference in helping to get things like that passed. So that's our first big mission for the new LP is to try to round up those calls to help those Yemeni peace activists and everybody who are already doing their part in setting it up. And by the way, for anyone who wants to do this, it's really easy. You just call 833-STOP-WAR, 833-STOP-WAR, and it'll connect you right to your congressman. And in fact, you can go to 1-833-STOPWAR.com. Pretty good idea, right? 1-833-STOPWAR.com, and they'll give you a couple of talking points, something you can say. In fact, I think they kind of presume that you're a lefty if you go there. So you say, like, I'm worried about the humanitarian concern. My idea is this. If your representative is a Democrat, tell them you want them to do this to support the president. The president says this is his position. He wants to end this war, but he needs our support to push this thing through to make it where he kind of has to do it now, and his opponents have to let him stop because we got the support in the Congress. That's what they need to hear, right? We're not asking you to turn on the president. We're asking you to do the right thing, which is wholly consistent with being a good Democrat, right? That's what they need to hear. And then on the other side, what they need to hear is Obama started this war, and you don't trust stupid Brandon to figure out how to do it all right and all of those things, right? That it's a waste of money. That Donald Trump said America first. We're tired of dealing, with these Middle East wars that we never win. And we're empowering Al Qaeda, not fighting them in this one. And we're sick and tired of it. And we're tired of policing the world and the ways that conservatives talk about it. And tell them that. You got money for killing Yemenis while we've got a baby formula crisis? And conservatives have grandkids, right? I mean, what are we talking about here? We can't be doing this. It's not like these are just bogus arguments. These are good arguments. That's why Donald Trump wanted out of the Middle East. He stumbled upon the obvious answer to that. What the hell are we doing over there? Spending all this money, killing all these people, making all these enemies. And what do we get out of it? Nothing. Nothing. And so Donald Trump said it. America first. And Matt Gaetz is supporting it. And Thomas Massey is supporting it. And if Donald Trump was here, we're sure he'd support it too, I guess. America first and the war in Yemen. And stick it to that Joe Biden. It'll be a great political defeat for him too. If you have a conservative Republican congressman in your district.
Know your audience.
Yeah, exactly.
Know your audience.
This is what you want to do, don't you? I mean, come on, man. This is great for all these following reasons that sound like just what you would have said if you thought of it yourself, right? That's what you want to tell them.
Yes.
And then, so what if it worked, right? What if we got even veto-proof majorities, but let's say sound majorities in both houses past this thing? Is Biden really going to veto it like Trump did? I think probably not. I think that this could be the pressure that we need to end it. And especially, again, because I think Mohammed bin Salman wants out, or at least his royal court is telling him, you better wrap this thing up, pal, already. So it's a confluence. You know, the stars are aligning for all these things happening at the same time. And goddamn, it's been 7 years and hundreds of thousands, well more than 500,000 people killed. I'm willing to bet that when they do the excess death rate later, you'll find there was 1 million people deprived to death in this thing, on top of 100 and something thousand bombed to death. And just absolute atrocities in this war. It's as bad as the Iraq War too. It's just we don't have our Marines and infantry on the ground there getting shot at and blown up by IEDs everywhere and all that. So it's not in the headlines, but it's every bit the horror show for the people of Yemen. So look, I'm not naive about this stuff. I don't have faith in the democratic process and all of that, but this is what we can do. And I think if there's something like a bipartisan, and transpartisan consensus, among just everybody is just over it. Everybody wants this thing to end and everybody knows it. Then that's what it takes, right? It's, that kind of just broad-based consensus. Everyone who's ever heard about this thing anyway is mad as hell about it and demands that it ends now, and that's enough people now that it matters and they better knock it off.
Yeah.
And
This one's such a no-brainer. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
This
it
one is
is.
such a no-brainer.
And there is a problem in that Biden is going to beg bin Salman to ramp up oil production. So he's got to, answer, the empire has to answer to the client state here. But again, sorry, we're talking about Biden and Blinken and the guys, but, if they play their thing right and they say it right at all, it's, look, pal, you want out of this war every bit as much as we do. And so let's figure out a way to do this, and then we'll all sell oil together and whatever. But to the broader subject of Julian Assange, people have to understand, especially left-leaning people. Well, I know, your audience are left enough. They know that Russiagate was a hoax, but, there are people who are just figuring out what's up, today. People are just old enough to care about this stuff today, and Russiagate was a few years ago, even for them.
Yeah.
So, who knows what people know. But he's not being prosecuted for helping the Russians rig the election for Donald Trump.
No.
He's being prosecuted for publishing the Bradley Manning leak, the now known as Chelsea Manning leak. And that was the Iraq and Afghan war logs, the State Department cables, and the Guantanamo files, and importantly, the collateral murder video.
Yes.
But I mean, there's just absolute gold in there. And for those who don't know, and you could find, assuming Google hasn't deranked all of this stuff, if you put in quotes, State Department cables confirm, or WikiLeaks cables show, or, things along those lines, you'll get 10,000, 15, 20,000 something results. Because the news stories all over the world, not just that were based entirely on the documents, which there were tons. Tons. But there were also so many stories where paragraph 15 says this one aspect of what we're looking at here is confirmed by the cables, right? So it's not necessarily the lead, but it's a major corroboration of part of a story that a journalist is telling.
Yes.
And that's not an exaggeration. We're talking about thousands and thousands and thousands, probably better than 10, 20,000 stories in the world that have been told, that have come out of those documents. It's just absolutely unbelievable.
Maybe more.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, maybe more.
Yeah.
They've released millions of documents, and I think honestly, and no surprise, honestly, we're going to continue to get stories from WikiLeaks for decades to come.
Right.
Something's going to happen 14 years from now, and we're going to look back at WikiLeaks and be like, oh yeah, look at that. Like,
you know
look
what?
at
I
these
happen to have
emails.
a little bit of a Manning's greatest hits here. This should be Manning and Assange's greatest hits. I don't remember the details of this when the Caspian Sea blowout. That must have been the big British Petroleum, like the Horizon explosion there. They had one of those in the Caspian Sea. Said some details about that. Remember, this was a huge one. And people, if you don't believe me, go and look. It's in the WikiLeaks. It's right there. Remember when the executive vice president from Citigroup in Chicago picked Obama's cabinet?
Yes.
Said you're going to keep Robert Gates at defense. You're going to make Hillary Clinton the Secretary of State. make Tim Geithner the Secretary of the Treasury, and on down the list. Oh my God.
And
There
that
it is.
list was nearly 100% accurate. There were some
Yeah.
deviations, but literally Citigroup did all of Obama's
So
cabinet
close.
appointments. All of them. All
Yep.
of them.
And then now in 2011, one of these stories finally percolated to the top. Was about a war crime where the Americans, I think Army, had gone into a house and executed this entire family at point blank range, including an infant. And then they called in an airstrike on the house to cover it up. But the airstrike hit the wrong part of the house. So all the bodies were still there to be available for the investigation. And they covered it up. But the Iraqis knew what had happened. The locals in that neighborhood knew what had happened. And this finally came out in 2011 when Barack Obama was trying to negotiate to keep American troops in Iraq past the deadline that Bush had agreed to. And this story came out, and that was it. That was the absolute death knell of any political support that Maliki could have gotten in the Congress, in the parliament there, to get permission to let the Americans stay. And so, people blame the rise of ISIS on that, but that's not what it was. As Trump correctly said in his speech at the National Interest, ISIS was caused by 1, Obama and Hillary backing al-Qaeda in Libya, 2, them backing al-Qaeda in Syria, and then 3, yes, they had pulled the troops out of Iraq so that when ISIS came rolling into Iraq, there was no one there to stop them. But rolling in from where? From Syria, where Obama was building them a caliphate for the last 3 years leading up to that invasion of Western Iraq. So if America had withdrawn the troops, but Obama had not backed al-Qaeda in Libya and Syria, there's no reason to think that what this tiny little minuscule, what was left of the al-Qaeda in Iraq there could have ever taken over and seized the western half of the country like that. So anyway, and then overall the death toll, they proved that the military knew that they had been lying to us and deliberately undercounting Iraqi deaths by at least 15,000. And those are, direct individual reported deaths. The numbers get a lot higher when you do the excess death rate, but we're talking about, people killed in combat and that kind of thing. The Wolf Brigade torture scandal, where this is sort of a break off of the Bada Brigade of the Supreme Islamic Council, the Shiite death squads that David Petraeus turned into the Iraqi army. And the Wolf Brigade were the ones who were torturing people to death with power drills. And you might have seen the Clint Eastwood movie, The American Sniper, where he's saving the poor innocent people from the people who torture people with power drills. But in real life, it was America's allies in the Shiite militias who were doing that. And that America was covering for them. And then, oh hell, my list goes on and on here. I'm sorry,
there's
but there's
a lot.
100, and there's so many of them.
There's a lot.
Yuki Amano from the IAEA going, "Oh, I am your tool. Whatever you say, your Iran policy is my Iran policy." And just there's a million of them, and it just goes on and on and on. So, and the State Department documents, the Guantanamo files. We learned so much about the people who are being held without trial at Guantanamo Bay. All of these things, and by the way, this leak, even though there's so much depth of information in there that people needed to know, it was not top secret stuff. Like, here are the names and addresses of our spies in Russia or in Iran and this kind of thing, where like our guys are getting rolled up behind enemy lines. There's nothing like that. Giving away, weapons, schematics or anything. There's nothing like that. This is all confidential and secret, not top, but just confidential and secret level reports, mostly from the field. And, after September 11th, they loosened the information. They knew that they were increasing the risk that this stuff could get out, but they wanted it to be shared among the different agencies. They needed it to be shared among the different agencies. So they have these internal national government internets where these kind of documents were readily accessible to somebody like Bradley Manning in the position he was in, their station in Iraq at the time. And so, but the important point of that is nobody got killed. What happened, our State Department, the Obama government and the Bush government before them, they got embarrassed to death, right? There's no accountability here. Nobody goes to jail over this. The question is, oh man, we really look bad because of, the truth being revealed about all those things that we did. Yeah. And so that can make it look really bad when you're
people go to jail, Scott, but it's the people who expose it. It's the truth tellers. It's Chelsea Manning. Right. It's Julian Assange. It's Daniel Hale.
And Manning knew good and well that she could go to prison for this. That, you know, when you're in the military, you're not allowed to leak to a journalist. You will go to jail if they want to put you in jail. That's absolutely against the law, right? But Assange is a journalist.
Yes.
And this is a little complicated because, one, the U.S. government has no jurisdiction over him in this case whatsoever anyway, right?
Shouldn't.
You know, they have to make up this stuff about how he helped Manning break into the computer and it was a conspiracy to defraud and all of these things. It's all BS. All he is a journalist who received information, but he's not even from here. So they really have no right to apply their law to him, an Australian who was, you know, arrested in England for posting secrets that were leaked to him while he was in Iceland by someone who was in Iraq, right? There's just the DOJ has no jurisdiction here, right? Except, here's the thing. Once they do put their grubby hands on him, now he's a U.S. person, and that means he's protected by the First Amendment. So now he's free to go anyway, because under the First Amendment, the freedom of the press is protected. Now,
well, this is the part of the story that scares me with where the world is at supporting Elon Musk right now, right? Because we have the idea of what legal speech is versus what free speech is and what it's supposed to be. Where in Julian's case, the U.S. government argued sharing tweets, like me and you sharing previously classified information by the CIA that was revealed through WikiLeaks is equal to what Julian did in violating the Espionage Act.
Which it is.
Yeah.
And that's a perfect way to frame it, right? Because it just goes to show how completely bogus the theory of their case against him is.
Yes.
That they have to twist the law so badly to say it would apply to you and me sharing this stuff that's already been written about in the New York Times from, you know, to each other on social media.
Yeah.
But here's the thing about it. That's correct. The Espionage Act of 1917, Woodrow Wilson, the father of Joseph Stalin and Adolf Hitler, that same guy, that he passed this law, and the Federal Reserve and the income tax, what it is it says that anyone caught disseminating classified information can go to prison. I forget the exact language, but it's very broad. Now, the thing is, they've mercilessly prosecuted leakers. Now, espionage, just by definition, right? This is foreign spying, right? This means somebody pilfering secrets to give them to a foreign power to use
for an
against them.
enemy.
It's not at war. Yeah, at least a rival in peacetime or something like that. You know, maybe the Israelis stealing our secrets to sell them to the Chinese, that kind of thing. That's espionage. But what have they done? They prosecuted Thomas Tam from the Justice Department and Thomas Drake from the National Security Agency. And, oh, hell, I'm going to space out now. Forget there's a million of them. There's 10 of them or something just from this century that Bush and Obama prosecuted under the Espionage Act for leaking these secrets. So this is a total abuse, calling that espionage. Now, you could prosecute for just breaking their secrecy agreement that they made, which is illegal, right? They signed on the dotted line as a federal employee not to leak. So they could already get in trouble for that. There's this huge overreach. Now, they want to apply that kind of same thing to the leakee, to Julian Assange, and then, as you said, even to you and me under the same theory of the case. And the answer is yes, because, again, that law is written so broadly that it would include you, me, and Assange in the same breath, where, you know, which is a whole step beyond going after leakers. And the thing of it is, it's never been used that way before. There have been times where, if I have it right, I think, you know, Daniel Ellsberg, when he was being prosecuted for being the leaker of the Pentagon Papers, that they were looking at possibly indicting the New York Times or the Washington Post.
They've looked at it, yes.
The New York Times journalists. But then they didn't. They tried to order the New York Times not to publish. And then the Supreme Court said, no, you have no power of prior restraint. But if you want to try to prosecute them for publishing it, we're open to that. But then that never happened. So in other words, to be clear, the only thing preventing the government from prosecuting journalists for publishing secrets linked to them is tradition.
Pretty
And it's
much.
held now for 105 years, but it is being overturned as we speak on this indictment. That's what this is it is now putting in jeopardy. Now, it should be, of course, that whatever the Supreme Court, any Supreme Court, with a majority of whichever justices, would obviously obliterate this thing right off the face of the earth. You can't do that. And yet,
I don't
mean,
know. I'm not that confident.
yeah, exactly right. And you couldn't be confident in this court or that court or any court to do this. We got 9 judges are all that stand between us and the First Amendment not protecting journalism of any.
Well, like Brett Kavanaugh, for example. Brett Kavanaugh during the Bush administration worked to pen the still secret legal scripture that allows for the Patriot Act to exist. Like, he wrote the backbone of the Patriot Act, essentially. And so that guy who's like,
oh, he's not going to strike it down, is he?
Right.
No. It's ridiculous. And so we should mention too that we're talking about the idea that this is going global too. I mean, this is happening. This happened to Glenn Greenwald. They used like kind of the same theory to go after Glenn Greenwald in Brazil. So this is a global thing. I think we're seeing that play out in numerous different ways. The attack. We're in an information war and we're losing. But yeah, and it's also, we need to also point out that we're talking about other outlets potentially being charged under this stuff as well. And the Guantanamo files is a great example of that, because the New York Times and the Guardian got that information separately from a different source than WikiLeaks, and they actually started to release that even before WikiLeaks did. And so that a third of the counts against Julian Assange are related to either directly or indirectly to the releasing of information pertaining to Guantanamo. So that's a huge part of the case that exists against Julian Assange. But the New York Times and the Guardian also publish that stuff from a different source. And that you don't think that's coming for you too? Of course it is. Yeah. And
these people hope that they can avoid it, right? Like, they all know that they'll be found guilty under the same thing. Like, Luke Harding is the best example, right? Yeah. He knows that when the axe falls, the U.S. already argued in court that he published the leaks first. But he still now is the most fervent, adamant supporter of Russiagate.
That's because he's a scumbag.
Because maybe he just fears retribution. Like, if he tries to step outside of their frame, he knows that he'll get scooped up and can be charged with it.
Well, and that's what it's all about, right? I mean, they're not going to use these new powers. I mean, assuming they get a successful conviction here, they're not going to use these powers against Charlie Savage or some drone like him who goes around as a stenographer writing whatever lie the CIA tells him to print above the fold in the New York Times. This will be even the implication, just the threat lurking out there will be used to keep people in line, to turn good journalists into Charlie Savages.
It's already working.
Being journalists.
That's already happening. The chilling effect is already well in effect. I mean, this has been going on for over a decade. And
that's right, Savage. You are the benchmark of a loser, liar, CIA stenographer tool.
Worse than Luke Harding? Are you sure?
Russian bounties hoax. He's as, well, let's put it this way. He's as bad as David Sanger and Judith Miller and Michael Gordon and Walter Durante, the worst reporters in New York Times history.
Okay, but Harding wrote a whole book called Collusion that had no evidence of collusion.
Yeah, well, there's that. Yeah, Savage, you're as bad as Harding, scumbag. That's how bad you are.
Yeah, Luke Harding's pretty terrible.
Everyone hates you so much.
Yeah, Luke Harding's pretty terrible. But I mean, I'm biased too, because he made up a whole ass the Manafort story that Manafort visited Julian Assange in the Ecuadorian embassy, the most surveilled building on planet Earth, though there's no evidence, no video evidence, no anything that Paul Manafort was ever there. But yeah, he wrote this whole ass article, which is still available on theguardian.com, by the way, completely manufactured story. And my favorite part is that he invents a whole ass outfit for Paul Manafort to wear to go visit Julian Assange, including like a light colored something or other and sandy colored chinos. Like, he made up a whole outfit that Paul Manafort, like in his imagination, wore to go visit Julian Assange, and that was at a time very significant to the Assange case. And that was
the CIA handed it to him the way they would have handed it to Charlie Savage. You know, oh yeah, he was wearing these brand of pants or whatever.
That's Luke Harding.
Well, that's why I think trying to build the connections in people's brains between what's happening to Project Veritas and what's happening to Julian is so important. right?
Mhm.
Because if you look at the timetable, I've said it a bunch here, but if you look at the timetable of events, I think it was 10 years after the grand jury of Chelsea Manning happened that Julian was taken to prison.
Mhm.
And so Project Veritas has that grand jury against them. They have that there impaneled already for at least the last, year and a half or 2 years now.
On what charge?
No. They haven't been charged with anything yet, but I believe.
Well, I mean, but what are they being investigated for?
Diary.
Oh, for the diary thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, that ain't going anywhere. I mean,
but it's still that
no, but it'll be
so.
they'll drag it out. It's a legal
Right.
proceeding. It's
Yeah.
going to take years.
Yeah.
It'll bankrupt them. They'll potentially go to jail. You know what I mean? Like this is the start of
draws
those
more
attacks.
attention to the story, if you ask me. Like, why would anyone want to cover that up? Oh, that's gross.
Well, oh, there's a child sex pedophilia ring in elite circles, and nobody's going to jail for that. So nothing surprises me anymore.
Well, that's
Nothing.
completely crazy, except that the feds successfully sentenced a convict in the case to 20 years yesterday.
Mhm.
So I think that's going to make it past the YouTube censors this time, lady. And it should have to. Now, just because her father was an important Mossad agent, and just because the federal prosecutor down in Florida says he was told that her buddy Epstein was intelligence, and so not to touch him. I don't know why anyone would conclude that she and Jeffrey Epstein were working for Mossad, compromising American politicians and powerful bankers and businessmen.
You crazy tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy brain, cuckoo brain. I mean, what's
Well, that
wrong
one
with
time
you?
they shot a torpedo or 5 at the USS Liberty and strafed the lifeboats and stuff. So
Yeah.
lied us into Iraq War II.
Oh, the propaganda game is so strong.
But
It's
I want to
hard.
mention
This is
that
hard
again,
to fight
I
back
don't know
against.
I don't know how much more time you have, but we had you for about an hour now almost. So I just want to
I know
thank
you're
you, and if
busy.
you got to cut out, let everybody know where they can find you and more information about your book.
Sure, I appreciate that. So yes, mostly I'm a show. The Scott Horton Show, that's at scotthorton.org. I got 5,700 interviews going back to 2003 for you there. And you find them all at youtube.com/Scott Horton Show. And also they're all on Odyssey now as well, the entire archive. And then I'm the director of the Libertarian Institute, and I am the editorial director of antiwar.com. And I wrote Fool's Errand, Time to End the War in Afghanistan, Enough Already, Time to End the War on Terrorism. Great Ron Paul, I edited. The Great Ron Paul, The Scott Horton Show Interviews, 2004 through 2019. And the brand spanking new out, like maybe tonight. Wait, let me hit refresh on this stupid thing and see if the thing is on the...
You got all kinds of new stuff dropping. No, it's not ready.
And then soon, very, very soon, maybe by the time anybody is looking at this, Hotter Than the Sun, Time to Abolish Nuclear Weapons. And I'm on the radio in Los Angeles on Sunday mornings. And I'll see y'all at Freedom Fest in Las Vegas.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'll hit
Good
you up.
to
I'll
see
hit you up, and I'll hit Ed up and see if we can figure out a time that we can talk while we're there.
Absolutely. Look forward to it.
Yeah, cool. Awesome.
Okay.
Thanks for coming
Thank you
by.
both
Appreciate
so much.
it. Yeah.
Really appreciate you.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot,
appreciate
y'all.
you
Have a
too.
great
Thank
night.
you. You too. All right, dude. We just had Scott Horton on, y'all.
We did. That was fun.
I love Scott Horton. Dude's like a walking encyclopedia, and like I have disagreements with Scott. I don't think that would shock him to hear. But we get along. We're friends. We have conversations. It's fine. He cares about a lot of the same stuff I care about. I mean, he had me on to talk about Leonard Peltier, which was awesome. I was really nervous. I always get really nervous. It's so ridiculous. How long have I been doing this? I still
Right.
get nervous. I'm still
Right.
so
No, I'm
awkward.
always terrified.
I'm not when I'm on this show because the fams knows I'm weird.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
and they
that's
know I'm
fair.
awkward. So you just get what you get, and you guys know that, and that's fine. I think you're okay with that, you know. So I'm comfortable here. This is home. But if I go on somebody else's show, I get really weird. So awkward.
Yeah. No, I am too. I know the feeling. I don't
I
know
think that's
how
why
to
we get
do-
along.
Yeah.
We find our people.
Do we? So we got time before Glory gets here. I'm guessing probably like half an hour.
Yeah.
Do we want to watch Kevin Gastola's interview?
The whole thing.
We can.
Oh, can we play the Claire Daley thing first?
Yeah.
Can I play? Because that's short.
Yeah.
Hold on. Hold on. God
I'm
damn it.
going to use the bathroom real quick. Give me a
Oh,
second.
you always leave me.
I know.
That's so ridiculous.
I'll be fast.
Oh, all right. Anyways, okay, so I gotta talk while I look so that you guys don't get bored. And that's gonna be hard for me. I need the Claire Daley video. Yeah. So there's a lot going on right now. There's a lot of stuff coming up. I think Friday is the deadline for the appeal on the Priti Patel decision. So they had 2 weeks to appeal that. So that's Friday. And I have no idea what's going on. I'm going to try to get some information on that. But I think that they're also simultaneously, don't take my word for this because I'm not positive. I haven't confirmed this, but I imagine that what they're doing is simultaneously starting the appeals process based on the press freedom, free speech aspects of the case, because as we've talked about for the past year and a half, it has been almost singularly focused on the mental health aspects of the case, because that was basically, which I think was orchestrated. Judge Vanessa Breitzer ruled against extradition based on the mental health only. So that allowed the United States to initiate a 1.5 year long appeals process based on just that aspect, which is kind of brilliant. Crazy psychopaths. Anyways, so I think that they're probably, I'm not positive. I'm trying to find out some more information, but I think that they are simultaneously appealing based on that as well. There's also, I think, the European Court of Human Rights that they can go through if they so choose. But the goal is just to drag this out. I mean, it doesn't really matter, honestly. I don't like to be unnecessarily cynical. I think this is just being realistic. Nothing changes unless there's mass public pressure on this thing. Do you know what I'm saying? That's what needs to happen. Without that, we can do all the appealing we want to. We're not going to get they don't have to do anything for us.
Yeah, the high court's actually already rejected appeals by Julian in this process already, and that's one of the UK courts they would appeal to. And the European Court of Human Rights doesn't even have to accept the case. There's no guarantees that filing a petition with them will even get your case put before them. So that's even in and of itself potentially just a dead end. And in that time, there's not necessarily anything that would stop them from just sending Julian away anyways.
Well, and Julian's health he's not doing well. He just had a mini stroke in October, which again, I'm going to point out the fact that the man was sitting in a small room in Belmarsh watching via video link because he's been refused the right to attend his own trial in person, his own hearings in person. So he's watching via video link as on the screen inside the courtroom. The prosecution is calling him a malingerer and saying that he's faking his medical issues to avoid extradition and accountability. As he's having a mini stroke, literally.
While his best defense is that he will kill himself.
Yes.
Right? During that trial in October, he literally, there was people commenting live about the fact that he got up and was moving around and the guards had to put him back at the seat and shit like that. So it was...
He's been psychologically tortured for over a decade. That's not me saying that. That's Professor Nils Melzer saying that. And his team of people who examined Julian Assange in Belmarsh prison. I'm not making that up. That's a legitimate... I don't think anybody should even question that. Are you joking? He was held in 320 square feet in the Ecuadorian embassy for nearly 7 years. He was isolated. He was spied on. He was surveilled. They bragged about, all the millions of pounds they were spending, bodyguard. Did you see the police presence outside of the Ecuadorian embassy? Seriously, this dude has been through the fucking ringer, and they're in court calling him a malingerer and saying that he's faking it so that he doesn't get extradited. And he's in the middle of a fucking mini stroke. You couldn't write that. You know what I'm saying? It's just fucking ridiculous. It's so stupid. All of this is so stupid. The idea that anybody, and I'm sorry, I realize I'm ranting, but the idea that anybody is considering sending this man to a country who was recently revealed to be plotting to murder him. I'm sorry. What? Somebody please explain that to me like I'm 5. Also, I need you to explain to me like I'm 5 how somebody gets a fair trial when the people you're going up against in court have been spying on your conversations with your fucking legal team. Explain to me like I'm 5.
Documents from the embassy.
Yes, they stole all your legal paperwork. They've been doing that while he's in prison. They've been strip searching him and then confiscating his legal paperwork like during court. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what kind of, I don't understand. I honestly, Andrew, I don't understand. I did 2 shows today on Assange. I did one with Andy Worthington talking about the Guantanamo files. I did another one with Doctors for Assange talking about like all the bullshit he's been through. And I'm just fucking, it's mind blowing to me. They're doing this out loud in broad daylight. They're not really hiding it. They're not like, you know, prancing around talking about it. It's not all over mainstream media, but they're not hiding it. And the number of human rights abuses, dude, the number of human, I think, I think they, Dr. Hogan from Doctors for Assange today said, I think 54, Nils Melzer found 54 different violations of Julian Assange's rights just from the Swedish case alone. Just from that, 54 violations of his rights. And that's not including all the bullshit he's been going through in Belmarsh, a 3+ years now of being come on. You know what I'm saying?
Now he's on
weird.
suicide watch, moved into like a total isolation unit.
Yeah, a bear cell for his protection.
Like 23.5 hours a day.
For his protection, Andrew. Yeah. For his protection. He just got monumental news about the, you know, the future of his case and his freedom. He's got 2 young sons and a wife that he's got to worry about. And he's just been told that he's going to be, Preti Patel has signed off on the extradition request to the United States, a country that wants to murder him and has plotted to do just that. And they strip search him and throw him in a bear cell and don't let him have any visits for days. That seems really helpful.
Yeah.
And that's torture. That shit's torture. And it's, oh, sorry. I'm fired up about it. I did 2 shows on it today and it's got me pissed off.
Well, one of the things right now, so everyone's talking about the Espionage Act charges, right? Where you have the first charge that was released was the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act charge, the conspiracy to commit computer intrusion charge.
Mm-hmm.
Can we go? Because I have a couple of those slides set aside from a while ago.
Okay, can we watch this Claire Daley thing real quick? Okay, because it's up, and I don't want to have to find it again, honestly.
No, you're good.
Okay, hold on. It's only like a minute and 22 seconds long. Okay, so here we go.
Thanks, President.
Oh, did I hit
The
audio?
goal is an endless war, not a successful war. Those were the words of Julian Assange in 2011 in relation to the war in Afghanistan. Words which could now equally apply about Ukraine. Ukraine should absolutely be able to join the EU, but on terms that don't bankrupt its people and when it's ready and when a majority of its people choose. But that certainly will not be happening while the country is an active war zone and everybody knows it. So instead, we're artificially prolonging this war with a steady flow of heavy weapons, attacking peace efforts as appeasement. The EU is guaranteeing a stalemate and ensuring that Ukraine will never be able to choose its own path. President von der Leyen gave the game away last Friday when she said Ukrainians are ready to die for the European perspective. My God, what a deluded narcissist. The real plan here, we know candidate status is bait and a trap. The real plan is to transform Ukraine into a meat grinder, use its people as cannon fodder in an endless proxy war against Russia, with the European taxpayer footing one bill after another for the arms industry. There's nothing to celebrate in that.
I fucking love Claire Daley.
The accent is what really pulls it home.
I fucking love her.
She's spot on with all of her information and delivery, but just that accent to like us American folk.
She's amazing. She's amazing. That was amazing. And it was dead on. She's absolutely right. And yes, I adore her. And I'm really glad she's on Julian's side. And she brings it up all the time. This isn't something like she talks about and then doesn't talk about for months. You know, it's like you have to kind of pry teeth to get them to talk about even some like basic stuff that's happening in the case. No, she talks about it all the time. Like just in that, she just quoted Julian Assange, but she makes sure to bring it up on a regular fucking basis.
And it's important to tell people thank you when they do too.
Yes.
Like even just sending these people a message.
Thank you, Claire Daley. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I always try to quote tweet her stuff, and like I mean, you guys have seen it. I like totally fangirl on this on Claire Daley. You know what I mean? I'm always like, I fucking love her, because I do. I fucking love her. I don't even I don't like politicians, but I like her a lot.
Yeah.
I like her a lot. So we need more of Claire, please. More Claires, less AOCs.
One can hope, right? We need at least one Claire here in the United States. Like Tulsi Gabbard was like tepidly almost there.
She could be. Tulsi Gabbard could be. People are going to see you're a simp. No, I'm not.
People always do so much better once they're not in a position of power.
Well, even Tulsi now not being in a position of power, like she didn't talk about Julian for months, not until just recently. Like she's been silent for a long, really almost since she left Congress. With very, I mean, I don't know if there's any exceptions, but if there are very few where she's talked about it. And that's really frustrating to me, because right before she left office, like when she was running, she talked about it all the time. She introduced legislation in Congress, and then she leaves and all of a sudden it's like she stops talking about it for a while. And I'm happy that she's talking about it again. And her fans on Twitter get mad, like, I don't understand why everybody keeps bugging Tulsi to talk about this or that or Assange. And I'm like, because we fucking need her to talk about Julian Assange. I shouldn't have to ask. That's the problem. I wouldn't have to ask if she just talked about it on a regular basis, and people be like, oh, well, what do you expect of her? She doesn't owe you anything. And you're right, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to ask her. That's what I do. I'll ask anybody, and especially somebody who's been previously vocally supportive of it, because there's no reason for you to go silent. So fuck yes, I'm going to ask. Get over it. Her people on Twitter get so mad when people ask her to speak on things. If you care about something, then you're going to try to like drum up support for it. That's the whole point. So yes, she has a huge platform, and I'm going to keep bothering her to talk about Julian Assange. Be mad about it. I don't care. You know what I mean? Be mad. That's fine. I don't care. If she would just talk about it a lot, I wouldn't have to ask, Andrew. Right?
I agree.
Yeah. Not my fault. What do you got?
Can we do conspiracy to commit computer intrusion?
Hey, Chicho's here, and Rob's here, and Rich is here. Rich is excited because he doesn't usually get to catch it live, and his schedule hooked him up. Dingo, V.S. Adams. Sorry, I'm just doing this while you're pulling it up. You can keep.
No, you're good. I have it. I was just checking to see if we got a time from Glory. That's all.
Oh, I haven't heard from Glory. I can check my Twitter because if. What am I doing? Okay. If she's gonna contact me, it's probably gonna be there or Element.
Yeah, she'll probably be able to talk just before 11.
Yeah, she said I just landed, so I'll be on in an hour and a half with the updates, and that was at 9:11. So yeah, maybe around 10:30 or ish.
Yeah, 10:30, 10:45 ish.
That's cool. I mean, we just need updates, so I'm sure she's exhausted.
Oh, I bet she's just been going and going and going.
Yeah, and I mean, I think she took a nap earlier, but like he got released at like 4 something in the morning, so and she was up to go get him. So yeah, I'm sure she's tired, and she's been traveling. So yeah. Oh, sorry, I didn't realize you brought that up. I was looking at my Twitter.
She's got that young person energy still, though.
I know. I'm so jealous.
Not old like us.
I'm so jealous. I used to have energy.
Right. So this is an older article. The reason why I think it's important is there's a lot of talk about the Espionage Act charges, which are super important. But this is like that silent backbone that the case kind of depends on that has just been shredded time and time and time again.
Yes.
And this was an article written last year that goes through bit by bit how the case broke apart in court for the conspiracy to commit computer intrusion stuff. So I got to be on that slide. Well, most of the talk about Julian's case is about the espionage charges, which are political in nature. The U.S. case hangs by a thread for the second time on the political charge, conspiracy to commit computer intrusion. There is a reason why the computer charge is so vital to the U.S. case. Charging a journalist with espionage for unauthorized possession and dissemination of defense information has been possible since 1917, but it runs the risk of violating the First Amendment. The tradition has been instead that to charge the leakers and hackers for the breach of oath, contract, or firewall. The legal and public perspective of hacking is that it's much like burglary, something generally feared, and those whose punishment by the state is not the subject of a political debate or opposing laws, but rather welcomed. The intrusion charge shifts public and legal perceptions. Since the U.S. is on shaky constitutional ground with the Espionage Act indictment, the computer intrusion charge has served as a hook to try to get Assange by portraying him not simply as a journalist, but as a hacker. Underscoring the differences between the two is fundamental in the U.S. case. That's why the U.S. prosecutor, James C. Lewis, Mega Brain, on the opening day of the Assange extradition hearing in February 2020, turned to the press in the courtroom and told them journalism is not the target of the U.S. prosecution. He said Assange was not a journalist and instead had participated in the theft of government documents. In other words, he's not a journalist like you, but a hacker. The distinction was spelled out by none other than the current president of the United States when he was vice president in December 2010. He told a television interviewer, David Gregory, that if he conspired to get those classified documents with a member of the U.S. military, that's fundamentally different than if someone drops them on your lap. Here, David, Sig doing a Joe Biden thing, signaling, dropping a pen to the anchor, slaps the table. In June 2020, the Trump Department of Justice, apparently unsure of the computer intrusion charge in relation to Manning, was strong enough to portray Assange as a hacker, issued a second superseding indictment that relied on the testimony of a WikiLeaks volunteer and later FBI informant who said Assange had directed him to conduct hacking operations. This evidence was apparently obtained by the FBI in 2011 when the witness was one of its informants, but it was not revisited until the Trump DOJ offered the witness immunity sometime in 2019, likely after the April 2019 issuing of the first computer conspiracy indictment, which did not contain his testimony. It appeared first in the second superseding indictment in June of 2020. That the evidence did not appear in the first indictment might indicate its unreliability because the key witness now has recanted the testimony in an interview last month with an Icelandic publication student. Sigurd Thordarsson's testimony was mentioned 22 times without question in the magistrate's January 4th ruling against extraditing Assange, which the U.S. is now appealing. The UK court was not made aware of the identity and criminal history of the witness referred to as teenager in the second superseding indictment.
Yeah, so just for people who don't remember, Siggy Thordarson is a convicted child molester. He's a diagnosed sociopath. He's a career criminal. He was convicted in Iceland of embezzling money from WikiLeaks. And this is, as that slide just said, like a huge part of the case against Julian Assange.
Right, and they withheld all of that information from the UK
judge.
court when presenting this.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and that guy has since recanted. He has come out in Student Magazine and admitted that he fabricated his testimony in exchange for immunity from the FBI. And again, the FBI worked with a child pedophile, a convicted pedophile, to fabricate testimony in order to get Julian Assange, and in exchange gave him immunity. I mean, that's really what happened. Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy.
And then so he came out and told the truth to Stundin, right? Or what can be conceived as the truth, because why is this guy even in the conversation? Yeah. He's a sociopath pedophile.
Right.
Right. So even going to Stundin and recanting what he had said, he's now, last we talked to Kathy Bogan, held in indefinite pretrial detention inside of Iceland, which doesn't happen. That's like not a thing that
that's not a thing that happens in Iceland.
But they're doing it to this guy for possibly committing future crimes, which like he's a horrible person, but there's enough there that you don't have to hold for the potential of future crime.
No, but they I think it's really just about disappearing him and silencing him because he has now come out. It
makes it that much harder for the defense to try to get him into court as well, to say, yes, I lied about all of this that's in this indictment.
Yes, exactly. Do you want me to read?
If you want to.
Okay. Thordarsson's chat logs not only negate those points of fact, they accord with what the Minister of the Interior of Iceland, Ogmor Johansson, I don't know. I'm very so bad.
Icelandic.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, that guy said, and recently told Consortium News, quote, the FBI were in Iceland to try to frame, this is important. This is something else that really happened. Quote, the FBI were in Iceland to try to frame WikiLeaks and Julian Assange in particular. Now, these are serious allegations, but I choose my words very, very carefully. Again, this is the Minister of the Interior of Iceland, not just some schmuck. Because I knew this from firsthand from within the Icelandic administration. They were told that the idea was to use Sigurður Þórðarson, an Icelandic citizen, as an entrapment to contact Julian Assange and involve him in a criminal case to be used later in the United States. This I know for certain, and I have stated this time and time again. In February 2014, before 2013, I said before the Icelandic Foreign Affairs Committee and the Icelandic Parliament where this was discussed, and this is in fact not disputed. This is what happened, end quote. The FBI had resorted to working with Þórðarson, a diagnosed sociopath and convicted fraudster, thief, and pedophile. Student pointed out that his chat logs were also revealed FBI grooming and conspiracy in the fabrication of false testimony. Yeah, they... It's like talking about it out loud. I can't believe this is really happening, but it sounds like a bad spy movie. It's horrible.
Like this is the part of the case, like the Espionage Act shit, like people get, right?
Right.
But this will be the thing that they try to ultimately come back at him with.
Yes.
Because it even, like, we'll get it, this keeps going. This is probably fucking
we'll keep going through it. But yes, I keep wanting to like talk about the other things that I'm sure that they mention it in this article because it's Consortium News and that's what they do.
Yeah.
Okay. During Assange's hearing last September, after numerous defense witnesses piled on evidence that indeed Assange was engaging in journalistic activity, Prosecutor Lewis changed course and ultimately admitted to the court that yes, he may have been practicing journalism, but the Espionage Act doesn't make a distinction for journalists. Assange had unauthorized possession and disseminated defense information, and that was that. With the recanting of Þórðarson's testimony and the weakness of the conspiracy allegation with Manning, the U.S. is back to what Biden said when he was vice president, that Assange is a journalist who is merely doing his job by receiving state secrets pretty much in his lap. If Assange is extradited to stand trial in the U.S., what would happen if the computer intrusion charge, that's hard to say, collapses? It would leave the U.S. with only the political charges and Assange in the same legal state as other publishers of the same material protected by the First Amendment. Yes.
I was like 3 slides behind you somehow.
Oh.
That was impressive.
Did I read them in the wrong order? I'm just doing what's on Element.
Keep going.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if there's more.
It's not going any further for me.
Okay. Then yeah, that was it. Just the decline to indict part.
Okay. But yes, all of this, it's it's fucking nuts. Oh, somebody asked us to speak on something. I want to make sure we do that before we get too far and I forget. Rich.
The French president.
Yeah. Okay. Can you talk about here, I'll put it up on the can you talk about the consequences of France's proposed offer of asylum to Julian? Will that have any immediate effect on his extradition? No, that's not going to have any immediate effect on extradition. The president of Mexico has also called for his release and has previously offered him asylum in Mexico as well, which Mexico has a horrible record of keeping journalists alive. So I'm not sure that's the best place for him either. And my friend Nat hates AMLO. So, and I trust her and she lives in Mexico. So she would know better than I. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know that that's definitely not going to impact his extradition in any immediate way. And I don't know how serious they are. Again, that guy that was saying it prior to the election, and he was trying to garner votes, just as Anthony Albanese in Australia has just recently done, where he spoke about it very vocally prior to the election. And the immediate, the second he got power, it was suddenly, oh, well, we have to do this quietly and stop asking me about it. And we're working behind the scenes. And that's bullshit, dude. That's bullshit. So I think probably...
I'm not 100% positive, but I think that there was a working group in France in the French Parliament for Julian, but they had a vote and they ruled against giving him political asylum.
There's also one in Australia, bipartisan, which Anthony Albanese is a signatory of.
That the French political asylum process, now that the Brexit has taken place politically, that is not the same. So like under the former European Convention before Brexit happened, I believe the French government at any time could basically ask for any prisoner to be sent there. If I know EU law right, I don't think
I don't know.
I'm too far off with this. But then after Brexit happened and after England left the European Union, part of those obligations to the European Union fell away, and part of that was the ability for cross-EU asylum seeking through that process. So I believe he can still petition the the UN Court of Human Rights, EU Court of Human Rights.
Yeah.
But I don't believe a state within the European Union can request him be sent there for like non.
And honestly, I don't know that he's safe anywhere. Yes, I want to see him released absolutely today. But I don't think anybody, I mean, look at what happened to him with Ecuador. We thought that he was okay there. They even gave him citizenship in 2018. And then suddenly there was a change of administration and everything got yanked away without due process. And they allowed British authorities to kidnap him.
The daddy of Donald Trump personally funded the operations through UC Global for all of this to get set up through the Las Vegas Sands Casino. It's literally like almost the plot of Ocean's 11, but
I know it's ridiculous, right? Like saying it when I'm talking to people, it's like, holy shit, this sounds ridiculous. It sounds like a bad spy movie. It really does. Like the worst spy movie. Like, you know, the CIA is plotting to either kidnap or assassinate a journalist, and they're talking about shootouts in the streets of London, and they hired the Spanish security firm to spy on his every conversation in the Ecuadorian embassy, and it's just like fucking, what is happening?
And then to top it off, right, David Morales throws a temper tantrum at his desk when questioned about it, and rips his shirt open and yells, "I am a mercenary!" Like fucking clown people.
It is. It's like you can write this shit, right? It's like I was talking to Andy Worthington today, and we're talking about how the intel gathered, to make the determinations of whether or not prisoners would remain detained at Guantanamo was often gotten from other prisoners who were themselves victims of torture and coercion. But they're like the one guy, we've talked about him, the one guy who ratted out like 92 people in 90 minutes because he needed a penis enlargement surgery and wanted to go to the United States. And so was just like, I'll tell on whoever you want. I just want a bigger penis. So send me to the United States and I'll tell on whoever you want me to tell on. And that's a real thing that happened. You guys are not making it up. It's a real thing.
It's the small things in life, you know?
Oh, it's absurd, right? Like all of it sounds fucking nuts, but it's real. This is what happened, and it is happening.
That's the hardest part, right? Is trying to communicate this in a way, because there's like
without sounding like a nutbag.
CIA, right?
Yeah.
But then when you try to like write your city official and you have to like put it in like terms that aren't going to make them think you're the crazy person.
Yeah.
Right. That's the struggle.
And being able to convey all of this information in an easily digestible way using, concise language so that you don't lose people because you're going into too much. It's hard. It's fucking hard. It's because it all sounds very nuts. That's why I like Caitlin Johnstone's latest approach, where she's like, yeah, it seems very complicated, but it's not. You can sum it up in a sentence, which the sentence I choose to use is the United States is seeking global jurisdiction over information and journalism. I think that sums it up pretty well. But yeah, it is very simple. It's we're charging a journalist for exposing war crimes. The truth. Never gotten anything wrong. And everybody's freaking out. Misinformation, right? Misinformation. Oh my God. WikiLeaks has never published any ever once in their entire existence. They've published millions of documents. Do you know how crazy that record is?
Well, here's the good news,
nuts.
right? So with the current state of world events, we just happen to find the Supreme Court's addresses posted all over social media right now. So send them letters, right? Like they got all these people, they got nothing but time in their houses. Like they're going to read some letters.
Maybe. It doesn't hurt. It only takes a couple minutes to write a letter.
Right.
You don't have to, it doesn't have to be a novel. Yeah.
Because they're getting it from every which way. Let's make it the way that they're like, okay, like these people.
Mass public pressure. Mass public pressure. That's the only thing that ever gets any change. Ever. Right? I'm not wrong here. That's the only thing that ever gets, even if things are accomplished legislatively, the only reason we're able to accomplish those things is because people pressure politicians into doing it. That's how it works. and we need to put pressure. Like that requires effort. It requires, doing some stuff, writing letters, making phone calls. I mean, otherwise it's going to get really bad. We might already be past the point of no return.
We may well be past the point of no.
I think we are. Honestly, I'm trying not to be too negative. I think we are.
But that's why it's important for U.S. ground support, right? That's why because when that happens and that plane's coming,
we're gonna need
people.
We need people. You need people. We need people. Don't confuse yourself. You need people. Yeah, it's gonna get really bad. God damn it! It didn't have to be this way. It really didn't. We're so stupid. Humans are so
like the thing I try to tell myself, like at least the world's exciting. Like yeah, we're all facing concentration camps.
Your ability to be, at least I think, because we live near each other, we have a potential of ending up in the same concentration camp.
Right, no, I agree. We'll probably be in like the Mansfield Penitentiary or something.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I can make a deal with the guard or something. I'll travel. I would like to.
See, what we have to do is what the Allied officers did in World War II, and that is escape or die. That there's like no option for being a prisoner. The only option is to organize your escape or die trying, and I support that wholly.
Yeah, it's not looking good for the home team, y'all. I mean, I guess we're probably the away team here, but it's not looking good. Shit's getting really bad. I honestly, Andrew, I still think that there are a lot of people who have no idea how bad it's getting, or how bad it is, or how bad it's about to get. You know what I mean? There's a lot of
the majority of people don't even know why the world is the way that it is, let alone what to do to solve it.
Yes, which is intentional, which is why it makes me angry. Because again, it doesn't have to be this way. It'd be cool if we would.
While we wait for Glory, can we watch Kevin Gastola's interview?
Of course.
Because I just love this. Like this is
again, good job, good Kevin.
Right?
Good job. Seriously, I'm so excited about it. What's his name again?
Philip DeFranco.
Philip DeFranco has a massive YouTube following. I don't know if he's on other platforms. I imagine he is, because
he's the person that got people to go to other platforms.
Okay.
Like he's the reason most people have their own websites and shit. He was the one that led that charge.
That's a big deal then. This is a huge reach. So yay for Kevin, and thank you, Philip, right? Is what you said?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry, I keep forgetting your name.
To be perfectly clear, he has been wrong on the Assange issue before. Like there was during the 2016 elections, later on, Philip did talk about Julian being like a Russian asset and all of those things.
Did he get it right this time though?
He did.
Then I'm not gonna listen. Right. I don't hold a grudge. I've said, even my worst enemies, even if you hate me, you've hated me, you've trash talked me for being obsessed with Assange, I don't care. If you come around and you are like, okay, I get it now, and I promise you, I will not hold a grudge. I'm not going to come for you. I won't mock you. I won't laugh at you. I might throw in an "I told you so" just cause I think I've earned it. But I will. I'm not here to what's the word? Discourage you from that movement. Welcome aboard. You know what I mean? So if you got it wrong before, that's okay. Get it right now. Please and thank you. Oh, sorry. I didn't realize you had it up. I was ranting again.
And we'll probably have to pause it to talk about things just to avoid copyright strikes or something. But
okay. Don't come for us, Philip.
It's in the extradition case of WikiLeaks founder
Julian. And just to hold on, I just want to show everybody. I don't know if you can see that, but the part where he starts talking about Julian's literally the most replayed version of the entire video.
Nice.
Like out of everything he talks about, right?
How many of that is you, though?
We have fucking Mr. Beast. We have fucking January 6th bullshit and like a bunch of other stuff, BLM. And out of all of the topics, Julian was the one that got the most views on his channel.
Nice.
For this particular video.
Assange.
The British government has approved the extradition of WikiLeaks founder
Julian Assange
to the U.S.
That's right. After 12 years of detention, Julian Assange is staring down life in prison, or at least his options to escape have drastically narrowed. With the UK's Home Secretary Priti Patel approving his extradition to the US Friday morning, rubber stamping an official order made by a London court back in April, marking the most important update in this case since he was evicted from the Ecuadorian embassy back in 2019. Also, to give a definitely oversimplified recap of a super complicated story for those of you who haven't been following this, Assange founded WikiLeaks in 2006 as an outlet that published classified documents leaked by whistleblowers. In 2010, Chelsea Manning came to him with the largest leak of files in U.S. military history known as the Iraq War Log, exposing that the U.S. lied about not counting civilian deaths and ignored reports of torture, rape, and murder, as well as war crimes like the famous video showing the pilots of an Apache helicopter laughing after gunning down several civilians assumed to be insurgents, two of them Reuters journalists. Then, in 2012, after the UK Supreme Court ruled that Assange should be extradited to Sweden for a rape allegation, he claimed political asylum in the Ecuadorian embassy, with him saying there that if he is sent to Sweden, then he'll be sent to the United States, where the government will persecute him for his work. And so he stayed there, trapped inside the embassy for the next 7 years. And while the rape charges were eventually dropped, he remained there out of
No
fear.
charges. Pause it.
Right to be
Pause
afraid.
it.
Pause.
No charges.
No
There were never
charges.
any charges. There were never any allegations. There was an investigation, a very ridiculous and obviously corrupt investigation. The whole thing stunk from jump. But now we have, Professor Nils Melzer, who is fluent in 5 different languages, is fluent in Sweden, has gone back and looked at the source document. It was an obvious stitch up. It was an obvious attempt to get Assange into Sweden so they could extradite him to the United States to face the then sealed indictment, the grand jury. So yes. There was no charges. Sorry, gotta correct it every time.
Right.
No
To
charges.
the point that the women that asked for STD tests told the police, please don't do this. I'm not looking to do this.
Yes.
Right.
And they wrote one of the lady's supposed statements and asked her to sign it. She refused to sign it because it wasn't her word. She didn't write it. Like, there's a whole thing. It was an obvious stitch up. Very
And then the
effective.
other half of everything for that was deleted by the Swedish government.
Yes. And this smear was that's why I am so
Yeah.
like we have to correct that every time, because it has been used very effectively against these sexual assault allegations have been used very effectively against Julian Assange. And so every time you hear that, you have to correct it, because it's that's one of the hardest things. I'm sure you guys know it's very difficult to defend yourself against claims like that. Especially now, maybe like post Johnny Depp, where we're starting to see how, because listen, and I realize I'm ranting again, but this is often used as a political weapon, as you know what I mean?
It's used
all
as
the
a weapon
time.
and a distraction.
Yes. So it's this is why I don't believe all women. You can come for me if you want, but I am very well aware of the fact that while most women are certainly telling the truth, and there has been an environment created where women feel like they can't come out because they won't be believed, but it's because it is used as a weapon. And so there's justifiable reasons. You should trust but verify. That's all I'm saying.
I agree.
Sorry, I'm
The
over
UK
ranting
had
again.
secretly filed criminal charges against him. Then we saw the following year Ecuador kicking him out of the embassy. You can literally see him getting dragged out, with him at that time being thrown into Belmarsh prison, where he is still locked up today. So after 2 years of house arrest for the rape charges, 7 years of political asylum, and 3 years of maximum security imprisonment, his mental and physical health has dramatically deteriorated. As Nils Melzer, the UN Special Rapporteur on Torture, explains,
I went to visit him with 2 medical doctors to have an objective basis, a psychiatrist, a forensic expert. We visited him for 4 hours. We had separate medical examinations and bilateral discussions with me, and all the 3 of us came to the conclusion that he showed clear patterns of psychological torture. And then, obviously, Julian Assange's state of health deteriorated to the point where I was genuinely afraid he might die in prison. And let me make it very straight. Psychological torture is not torture light.
Now, with this latest update about Priti Patel's decision, the prospects look very grim for Assange, because in Britain, the Home Secretary is the final authority on extradition, though Assange does still have a couple of legal paths to pursue. First, he can appeal the case to the British Supreme Court, but many see that as likely to fail since the same court rejected his appeal last March. Second, they can appeal the case to the European Court of Human Rights, which seems more hopeful, but British Justice Secretary Dominic Raab has promised to propose a new Bill of Rights letting the UK ignore the court's rulings. And Boris Johnson's been threatening to pull out of the European European Convention of Human Rights entirely because of a ruling it made last week blocking the deportation of some migrants to Rwanda. Plus, each court would have to agree to hear Assange's appeal in the first place, which is not guaranteed. And ultimately, if this happens, if he is extradited to the United States, he will face 175 years behind bars for espionage charges. So with this, you have WikiLeaks calling this a dark day for press freedom and for British democracy.
So he is a master of like cutting and clipping and making everything really fast.
Also,
and it's about to cut to Kevin Gostola. So just like notice the difference, but notice the like viewership non-drop off as Kevin comes in though, because that's the more.
Can we just talk about the fact that he talks fast, and I love him for it because I talk fast and I always feel really self-conscious about it, but I think he might even talk faster than I do.
Oh yeah. Oh, and it's heavily clipped. Like he's released some like unedited versions and it's like 8 minutes longer.
Oh, okay.
He like cuts out
I talk like that. Like
every
this is
possible
how
breath.
that's how I rant about Julian Assange. Like that's it. Like,
Yeah, no, do a cut clip show for real. Like do a.
I wouldn't need one. I could
6-minute
I
clip
could
show.
rant what he just talked about with no cuts. I could just, you know what I mean? I could totally do that. Totally. I do that. I just did that. I've been doing it.
All the time.
All the time.
All this comes after weeks of calls for Patel to block the extradition from journalists, politicians, rights groups, and Assange's family, with his wife Stella responding to the news by saying,
"We're going to fight this. We're going to use every appeal avenue. And we're going to fight. I'm going to spend every waking hour fighting for Julian until he's free."
and his lawyer Jennifer Robinson saying, "This is the outcome that we have been concerned about for the last decade. This decision is a grave threat to freedom of speech, not just for Julian, but for every journalist and editor and media worker in this country." You also had major creators like Hassan Piker speaking out saying Assange should be free, also hitting on reports that the CIA under Trump discussed potentially assassinating Assange. And of course, with this story, there's way more to talk about. So to get some insight, I reached out to Kevin Gostola, a journalist specializing in whistleblowers and press freedom, who has covered the Assange case from inside the courtroom, with him first explaining just how unprecedented this is in modern American history.
Obviously, we've seen in continents like Africa, South America, and the Middle East.
I love Kevin so much.
Less,
Me too.
free and open that they do this to journalists, but it's always held up and celebrated that in the West, in Western democracies, in like UK and the United States, that we won't do this to the press. And they always set a boundary that this law, the Espionage Act from 1917, which is over 100 years old, that they would only use this to target people who leaked information to the press who were violating their oath, allegedly, or the agreement that they had signed when they got a security clearance. Throughout history, they had threatened press groups, or they had threatened media organizations, they had threatened journalists with prosecution. They had stopped and never gone beyond threatening a number of journalists and organizations with prosecution. But now, with this case, they have claimed the authority to decide who is and is not a journalist.
Kevin then talking about some of the more extrajudicial methods the U.S. government used to pressure Assange, which are being examined in a Spanish court.
Former CIA Director Mike Pompeo and another former CIA official were summoned to give testimony and share what they know. Because there was a source for this Yahoo News report. It got a lot of attention because the headline was in bold, and it said that it accused Mike Pompeo and the CIA of being involved in developing secret war plans to kidnap or poison or even consider killing Julian Assange outright while he was in the embassy. We get to 2017, 2018, and this company called Undercover Global. It's a private security company run by a man named David Morales. He develops this arrangement with which we think goes all the way to the CIA, but there is still some things to be proven before we state that definitively. But we know the CIA had access to audio and video recordings from inside the embassy, and they're involved in going after his attorneys, trying to identify Julian Assange's, who we know now are his children. He has Stella and his family interested in all his visitors, collecting and putting together files on people. They were going after doctors to collect his medical notes. But one of the things they did that was the most outrageous towards the baby that was coming in, who they suspected was Julian Assange's son, they tried to steal a diaper from his son to do a DNA test to try to confirm whether it was his or not. The fact that they had cameras, they were bugging all parts of the embassy. They bugged the women's bathroom, where attorneys were actually already going into to meet because they believe that other parts of the Ecuador embassy were being snooped on. And so this is all known because of documents that are in the possession of his lawyers. He's got one lawyer named Aitor Martinez who represents him in Spain. And they have all these documents, files. There's whistleblowers that came forward and passed on information. There's 2 of them. They're unnamed. We don't know who they are. They're in fear for their safety, that they could be retaliated against by David Morales, who has a military background.
And so with all this, as far as what happens next, you had Kevin saying,
unfortunately for Julian Assange, who's been in prison for over 3 years now in Belmarsh since being booted and kicked out of the Ecuador embassy, it probably means another year, if not longer, of legal battling. And then maybe, he does get closer to being put on a plane and brought to the U.S. for trial.
well, thank you again to Kevin for the time. But with all this, I do want to pass the question off to you. What are your thoughts on
any and all aspects of this story? What do you...
Isn't that awesome?
Hey,
Like,
here.
hey, Lori!
Jones, what's up?
That was perfect timing. That was like, we've been doing it great.
Timing.
We've been like on point all night.
I know. It's very strange. It's not intentional. We didn't plan
No.
it. It just happened that way. We got
Okay,
lucky.
I'm actually glad the timing worked out good because I apologize for being late.
No, dude,
No.
you don't have to apologize. You've been kind of all over the place, traveling.
Yeah.
You were at like the jail at 4:50 or whatever it was when X got out, all that stuff. So yeah, it's fine. Yeah, that was great timing. We just watched Good Kevin on
The Philip DeFranco show.
Philip DeFranco. Yeah,
Do you
who
know
has like a
Philip
shit ton.
DeFranco is Philly D.
Yeah,
He has a shit ton of followers, so
Yeah,
or
he's a
subscribers
world
or
YouTuber.
whatever.
Kevin
I had
just
never heard of
got
him.
on there and gave a wonderful fucking
Yeah.
interview. It was the best, probably.
Yay, Kevin! Woo! That's huge. Honestly, that dude's got a huge audience, so that's fantastic. Although he did mess up the one time with the charges thing.
Yeah,
but
twice
you know,
with it.
yeah. But we'll forgive him. A little bit. I hope he corrects it though.
Yeah, I mean, it's like how Jake Tran messed up the Russian asset thing.
Yeah.
Like they're like, people are trying. It's just like Russell Brand even did it. Like, it's
Did
just
he?
hard to try to get it all right.
Russell Brand did it?
Yeah, Russell
didn't know
Brand did a
that.
like 20-minute thing on Julian and got like everything right, but like 2 details.
Oh, come on,
He
Russell.
he talks about it like every show. He's like, but what about Julian? And I'm like, thanks, Russell.
Yeah, that is good.
Not that it matters, but
Nice.
like I'll even email people and be like, hey, I really appreciate you talking about Julian.
Yeah. All right. Jones has some news. Check it out.
yeah.
Commander X.
So,
Let's
for those
go.
of you that missed it, Commander X got out of jail yesterday, or well, actually not yesterday, today. As in this morning,
Mhm.
early this morning. But yeah, pretty much. Yesterday was his sentencing hearing, and long story short, he was sentenced to a year of probation and supervised release, which is going to be filled with conditions like he has to undergo mental health assessments, and he's also going to be subject to periodic searches, and so is his computer as well, but they're not restricting his computer conduct, which is a good thing. It's just going
Yay.
to be subject to search. And then also he gets a credit for time served, and he will have to pay restitution fines, but those are going to be decided at a later date. I believe August 16th was when they set the restitution hearing to figure out an amount for how much X would have to pay. Preliminary estimates range at around $75,000 because that's the amount of damages that Jay Rorty and the city of Orlando legal people agreed to that were damages incurred by the city of Orlando. So that's the preliminary estimate, but they might get it down during the restitution hearing in August.
Yeah.
So yeah, but with all that, it means he gets let out of jail.
Yay!
Just such a relief. So
we
yeah.
won one. We won one, you guys.
Because it's been a crazy year. Like the shit that you have done personally. Chloe,
Yeah.
fucking
Shout out to you,
incredible.
Glory Jones.
Yeah. Like
Glory Jones has been hella active on this.
That.
Yeah, she's been a beast on this one. So yeah, shout out to you and everybody else who worked on getting Commander X the fuck out of jail. He shouldn't have ever been there to begin with. So yay. Does he have his dogs yet?
No, not yet. They're still in Mexico, but they're in the
Somebody needs to
process
take
of making
video
their
of
way
that.
out. Yeah.
Somebody
How's
please
he
take
doing?
video.
Is he like, I don't want to know a whole bunch of nothings, but like, how's he doing?
How's he doing?
Because in the photos, he looked much different than when we saw him last, like publicly on camera. Like just like coloration, is skinnier.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's jail. I mean, he was in good spirits though to be out. That was definitely very noticeable. I mean, overall, like while he's been in jail, like, you know, I think he definitely has lost weight because the food sucks. And also, you know, he has gotten paler because he's in protective custody. When you're in protective custody in Santa Rita jail, they don't let inmates go outside because as a part of protection, they have to protect them from the other inmates that go outside by not letting them go outside. So X was literally getting zero sun while he was in jail. So yeah, that explains some of the coloration. But I mean, he was in good spirits. He was just happy to be out. There was like this expression when the judge first started giving out her sentence and she said probation, like you could just see him look up and almost start crying. And I would, and like I'm in the courtroom too. I let out this big sigh. I'm like, oh, and I remember I looked back at Steve because I was taking notes on like what the sentence was. I was like, Steve, is this right? Are you sure this is right? And I'm like, oh, thank you. And oh my God, we were all just so relieved. Like, you know, obviously X is going to have to be on his best behavior for this next year with probation and supervised release. And there's like other assessments and stuff he'll have to go through. And actually today was when he was having to meet with his probation officer and stuff. So there's still stuff that he has to do, but like, it's just such a relief that he's out of jail on it. Like that's such an absolute win. I can't stress that enough, how much of an absolute win it is that he got that credit for time served and that he's out of jail. It's just, whew.
Yeah, and it was touch and go there for a minute too. I remember I was like, I kept refreshing the Free Commander X page on Twitter. I'm like, come on. And then finally I saw Steve tweet something, and it was kind of like when the Assange announced the no extradition for. I was like, wait, does this mean are we what? You know, I was trying to figure like, what?
Yeah, I was so scared that hearing too, because if you were there in person, you would have been scared
for sure.
Too.
Yeah.
But the first thing, the judge came out right away, and one of the things that she said was like, you know, I'm not as concerned with the underlying charges, which were the indictments from Santa Cruz and Orlando. And she noted, I think X said that he counted 6 times. She noted that the DDoS protests were comparable to sit-ins, digital sit-ins. Like, you know, she took that quote directly from X and whoever X took it from. So like, you know, she noted several times that like she didn't consider the DDoS charges to be that big a deal, but she came out the gate going hard on the absconding charge, which was his failure to appeal. When she said that, I was like, oh, yeah. because you know, not that Jay and X didn't do a great job defending him, but like, you know, one of the things that we hit hard on was the cyber protest, because that was like, those 2 indictments were like the meat of the whole case. So like, that's one of the things we were focusing on. And it's also like what we expected the case to focus on, but the judge came out the bat making a big deal out of the absconding charges. And then luckily, J and X, they gave presentations which added more context to that as well. The problem came when Jay gave some good technical legal context for whatever was happening, and then X came up and gave a couple minutes of a really good presentation, basically expressing like how the cyber protests are just digital sit-ins, like how do I say this? Like how sorry he is, or how like sorrowful he is for his actions, and like then ending it with asking for mercy, and after that, and it was like this really touching thing too. And I also want to stress that the judge thanked the supporters for being here. She because there were a couple of us in the courtroom, she went and she thanked the supporters of X for being here, which I thought was interesting. I was like, I should say something that none of these other victims are showing up, because I didn't make this point in court, but I made this point after to people that I was talking to. But some of the so-called victims of these DDoS attacks, they didn't show up in court, and they were in Santa Cruz. Well, they were alleged to be in Santa Cruz and Orlando. Where am I from? Miami. They don't have to travel as far as me. Yet I did. I made the trip. So what's that say? Obviously, the judge doesn't know all that, but I just want to make that point clear for these so-called victims. But and then because that's when, after X's presentation, that's when the prosecution just turned into a total cunt. And oh my God, she was like, I didn't hear any apologies for the victims of this case, the poor IT workers of Orlando. Oh my God, cry me a river.
It's a fucking DDoS. Calm down. Jesus.
The poor and starving IT workers of Orlando.
And she
That's
had
who
no
I feel
idea.
pity
She
for in this
really
world.
had no idea what she was talking about, and she just went hard at X for that kind of stuff. And she and basically painted him out to be a heartless cyber terrorist. And she was like, he did damage to the government, this and this and this and this and this. Meanwhile, literally, I was there last hearing when this shit ass bitch read out a whole indictment that basically said that they were arresting people for illegally feeding people in a park.
Yeah.
They name dropped food, not bombs in the indictment, and they read it out loud in court with Keith McHenry in the room. That was last hearing. But so she just went totally heartless on that. And then after that,
a heartless lawyer? What?
I expected it, but it did piss me off.
Of course. Of course. I'm sure you were ready for some hands. We joked about it. I told Steve to tell you I had bail money. Moneybags got you. I got you.
I'm glad word didn't reach me, because then I might have acted on it. But then what got me scared, and mind you, this whole time I'm shaking too. What got me scared was then the judge went on a little monologue, and she started agreeing with the prosecution on some points, mainly that she essentially rejected the context that J and X were giving as for why he, fled his Santa Cruz indictment for the failure to appear charges. She basically said oh, you're just like any other criminal who doesn't want to face consequences for their actions. And then at one point she even brought up WikiLeaks, because they talked about the precedent set by the PayPal 14 case. And she basically said, I can't remember all the details exactly, because I'm updated various kinds of people, and my emotions are going insane for this. But at one point she mentioned WikiLeaks, and she was like, this something WikiLeaks, and when they leaked documents from the State Department, something, and she was basically using that as a talking point to say oh, why didn't X come back after the PayPal 14 case, after he knew how WikiLeaks went? And I'm like, And at that point, I was like, bro, by bringing WikiLeaks into this when it wasn't mentioned before, like, you're essentially proving the political nature of this case. So yeah, that was another little thing that
Your Twitter's up on the screen, by the way, Misty. I don't know if you know.
What?
Your Twitter's on the share.
Oh. Okay.
But yeah.
Sorry, PayPal 14 WikiLeaks political.
Yeah, nah. And that was another thing. And then, oh my God, she made this one comment which aggravated me because she was like, and regarding your apology, Christopher, I don't believe you're actually sorry. You're just sorry to your fans. I'm like, you don't understand how movements work then.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm sorry, we're just fans. Like, you think us activists are just like fangirls for this? Like, no, there's overlap in the causes we support. What about homeless people? You think they're just fans of X? What about people like Keith McHenry and Food Not Bombs?
Yeah.
And it's like, who are being arrested for feeding people in the park? Oh, sorry, they're just Commander X fans. Yeah, whatever.
What about just any activist? Because I mean, like, it's like you said, it's a digital sit-in. And the attacks on protests, the attacks on speech, all of that stuff, everybody should be against that. I'm not a fan of that. You know
yeah,
I mean?
nah.
Well,
No.
Just a judge using those words in court is fucking powerful. Right?
Yeah,
Calling
well,
something a digital sit-in, because there's been so many years of just murdering people in prisons over digital activism. Like, having that even spoken makes a big difference.
But yeah, she went hard on X for that and kind of like rejected X's apology, which is what got me really fucking nervous. But after that, she moved on to the sentencing, and that's when she gave the sentence that I outlined earlier: 1 year of probation and supervised release to be served concurrently, restitution, but time served, and he gets out of jail. And like, in hindsight, I can look back at that moment where she's basically like harshly admonishing X, and I could say like, okay, it was a show. Because mind you, there must have been like 10 FBI dudes in the back and a bunch of court marshals just sitting there, and also the prosecution right there too. And they're like, like, she's got to throw a bone to them. So that's what that was for, and that, or at least that's what, like, when I was talking with people after the case, that's what kind of the sentiment was, obviously. And like, I'll admit this, in the moment, I thought it was the end of the world when she said that. I was like, I was shaking. I was like, no. Why is she rejecting his apology? And like, I'm like, do I need to come up and make a presentation? And like, I'm like, giving people updates to my phone. I'm like trying not to like flick this at someone, So, so yeah, there was so much going through my head. But then when she said that sentence, I was just like, oh my God, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And then afterwards we went outside because I had set up, along with the help of one of our amazing chat members, shout out Cab. I don't know if you're watching this, but shout out if y'all know Cab in the chat. Cops are bastards, Cab. They were there. And they helped me set up the yellow ribbons outside the courthouse. So we went to take them down, and like, I was holding them all and bunched up in my hands, and it was like pom pom. So I was like, hey yo, I'm one of X's fans. So I'm like, give me a C, give me a U, give me an N, give me a T. What's that spell? Susan. Go fuck yourself, Susan.
Oh goodness. So where's that? Like, I obviously don't tell us where he's living, but like, is he has a nice place? He's safe. He's all that good stuff.
Yes.
Okay.
He's in a very good place.
Good.
And then, eventually after all this blows off, he'll go to live with his sister, and he'll, be doing all the Buddhist pilgrimages he wants and whatever he plans to do after this. But and then So after the trial ends, you know, we expect it's going to be a while until he gets out. So we just make our way up to Dublin. We're chilling, like, you know, we go to this one pub, stay there for like 4 hours, then we go to this other restaurant, and then we stay there for like another 3 to 4 hours. And, you know, like we're ordering drinks and shit. So, you know, I can say that I drank a mojito next to Keith McHenry. Check that off the bucket list, even though I didn't know it was there to begin with. But yeah, we're just in good spirits. And then, like, you know, 9-10 o'clock rolls around and we head over to Santa Rita because they had told us that they try to get all prisoners processed out before 11 p.m. Yeah. So that didn't happen. Essentially, we were told, X said that he would call one of us when he like gets the call to go out, and when he expects that he'll be an hour from getting released. So we didn't get that call at 10 or 11. We never got that call. He was updating Amy Beth, his sister, though, frequently, and she was updating us, and like they were literally holding him up on like some technicality. So, and it was just annoying because like I went up to the info people in the jail lobby, and I would be like, okay, so like, how's the process going? And they would be like, oh, well, you know, there's this technicality, something. I can't even remember because I was so like tired and emotional at that point. But like, but the court marshals didn't even release him. So it was like the court marshals were, not the court marshals, the marshals, U.S. marshals, I don't know, some marshals, they were holding him for way longer than they needed to in these like tiny confinement centers. And we're just like, oh my God, why? And the system is taking forever to process this. And mind you, at this point, we're like the only ones in the parking lot besides staff. So we're just like, why? Like, y'all can't process one man. And then, and we're still waiting. We're waiting for a couple hours. We go to like 7-Eleven and stuff. And then we go to we check in again, and we talk with the ladies at the front desk of Santa Rita Jail again, and they're like, okay, yada yada yada. They're still processing him, but if he doesn't get out by 4:30, then he won't be able to get out until 7 a.m. after or later, because there's a shift change happening at 4:30 a.m. So I'm like, and it's like, you know, 3:34. No, not 3:34. It was like 2:30, 3 a.m., 3:30 when they tell us this, probably. And I'm like, no, please let him get out in time, at least before 4:30, because, like, you know, I had to catch a flight at 11 a.m. So I had to be out of, and we're still in Dublin. So I had to be out of there by like, at least, you know, like 8 at the latest. Yeah. So I'm like, yo, I'm not gonna not meet X in the jail parking lot. Like, please. And I just wanted him out too. Yeah. So,
that had to be like the longest hours of his life.
Oh my God, yes.
Can you imagine? You're getting out, but like
we were just all so anxious. And then at about 3:25, 3:30 a.m., we get a text from Amy Beth that says X said that the deputy told him he should be out in less than an hour now. And I'm like, okay, good, thank fuck. But I also think he's bluffing a bit, because I think he wanted him out before the shift change at 4:30. So I'm like, oh God. So, you know, I take like my third mini nap in the back of Keith McHenry's car, and like 4:15 rolls around, and I walk back up to the jail lobby, and I ask the people again, and like at this point they seem pretty fed up. So they're just like, listen, we already told someone else, like, if he's not out by 4:30, you're gonna have to come back at 7. And I'm like, yeah, but like a deputy told our friend that he's going to be out in less than an hour. So can we check on how that's going? And they're like, no. If he's not out by 4:30, he's not going to be out by 7. And I'm just like at this point, I'm tired. I'm fatigued. I'm emotional because like I had gotten up early. Like I had barely slept the night before too because of pure anxiety, and then I was already up early because I was going to the courthouse to put up the yellow ribbons. So I'm like, you know what? I'm like pulling the like dejected child face on them because I could tell that one of the ladies at the front desk legitimately felt bad for me. And I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna make your ass feel bad. Like I'm gonna put on the full, like I'm gonna do the full, like listen.
Yeah.
So I did the whole dejected child thing.
Well, I know you were sending us like stuff in the DMs, like 7 in the morning, trying to figure out where to put your yellow ribbons, and then it's like 4 something the next morning, and you're still waiting for him to get out of prison. So, yeah, that's a long day, Glory Jones. That's a very, very long day.
Yeah, that's brutally long.
Did we lose her, or did she just mount?
I think she's hiding.
Don't you hide? Oh, okay. We need to wrap soon because I'm really tired.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay,
Fam had a question.
Oh, okay. Anyway,
but yeah, that happens when I'm not in college anymore, and I apologize. But yeah, so okay, yeah. So I'm like, and then to rub salt in the wound, like after they tell me that, you know, if he's not out by 4:30, I have to come back at 7. They're like, oh, you can't wait in the lobby. You can't wait inside because of COVID.
Oh,
so I literally went outside. Like I went right outside the door and I just sat on a bench staring at them. And I'm like tears are forming in my eyes because I'm just like, I'm so tired. I'm so emotional. I'm so fatigued. I'm so over it.
Yeah.
I'm just like, yo, I'm just going to work myself up and I'm just going to hope that by some stroke of luck, like this mental breakdown I have in front of their lobby gets them to expedite the process. So I start like, there's like an inclined walkway that leads from the parking lot to the lobby. I start like pacing back and forth there, working myself up, like the tears are building up in my eyes. And then as I'm like pacing back and forth, I'm coming back up this incline, and I must have been like halfway up the incline or so, or maybe a bit less than halfway up the incline, when I notice this I don't want to say frail old man, but it's like this old, this like small old man figure dragging this big bag of books. And I'm like, wait a minute, is that X? And mind you, this is at 4:40 when I spot, like, this is past 4:30 when I spot X.
Yeah. So you thought you were in it till 7.
Yeah, I know. So like 4:35, 4:40 rolls around, and I see like, his figure dragging out these bags, and I'm like, wait, is that X? So I run up the incline, and I'm like, and I open the door, and I'm like, oh my god, X, oh my god, I can't, and I can't even say anything, and he's just like, wait, I have to change before I can hug you because my clothes are like toxic, they smell horrible, and it's adorable, and I'm like almost crying over there.
Aww.
and then he's got this big ass bag of books too. So I went to put his books back in Keith's car, and that's when I woke up Keith and them, and we're like, hey yo, X is out, he's out. And then that's when you saw the pictures and videos where I'm like, yay, finally. And X takes the picture of him holding the Coke. And then he went back, and then we gave him some clothes, and then he went back and changed. And that's when he like hugged all of us and stuff. And that's when we took the group pictures and stuff. And and then I think they dropped me off in San Jose at like 6 a.m. in the morning, 6:10 probably. So I don't know what time they got back to Santa Cruz, but the sun was out by that time. Yeah.
There you are.
That's
Look at
awesome.
that.
That's so awesome.
I love that. Oh.
So yeah, that's the end of the jail saga.
I love it. Welcome home, X. Well, I mean, well, I don't know. Welcome home, I guess. Yeah. I mean, why not? Welcome out of jail? I don't know. Who gives a fuck? He's out of jail. That's good. It's good. Good win. I like it.
Know.
Oh, I needed that.
No, it's definitely a dub.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We could use some more of that shit. It's like, stick it in my veins. It's so good. We need more.
It's just like, oh my God. It's been like, obviously
over a year.
Obviously we have everything with like Julian's case going on and other political prisoners and stuff. But like, with the X case, like that presented a lot of us with just like so much to do this past year. And like, oh my God, the relief of him being out. Like, I don't know.
No, it's incredible.
No, you've been like on
amazing.
point on this one. Like this has been, I mean,
yeah,
you took like a huge role in this one. So, I mean, take the win, dude. I invent wins all the time. This is a real one. Soak that shit in. Inject it straight into your veins. You know what I mean?
Trust me. I am
mainline that shit.
We're all taking this dub. I mean, like, and on the drive back from the jail, X was like his usual self, talking 100 miles per hour, telling all kinds of stories.
I bet.
So like, he's I don't know how he's doing now after some rest and stuff, but I mean, like, when he got out, he was in good spirits, and it was just like and that was like my first time meeting him too in person, technically. So
I love this so much. Oh, I love it.
I
love it. Oh, it's so good. I'm so happy. Oh, more of this, please. More of this. Can we have more of this, please? Can we have a free Daniel Hale and a free Julian Assange and a free Joshua Schulte and a free Ola Bunny and a free Mumia and a free Leonard Peltier? That'd be cool. Let's do that too. Let's go. Let's accumulate these wins. Just keep notching them up. I like it.
Absolutely.
Wouldn't that be dope? Even if we just got like one more win this year, that would be.
I know. I really want, like more of those feelings of like, yes, like the relief of finally getting a political prisoner out there. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's one less thing. It's one less thing. It's one less. I like that a lot. Oh,
I know.
Yeah,
it's
more of that.
Like not having to worry about him in jail is,
I'm sure,
like,
weight off your
so
shoulders.
huge.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, we definitely need more of that. All right, let's wrap, please, because I'm tired. I'm so tired.
yeah.
I'm old and I'm tired.
I am tired too.
I'm sure you are. All right, Jones, what do you got coming up?
Too tired
you don't know,
to
do
even
you?
Remember.
Slow News Day show,
Slow
Sundays.
News Day. Sundays, 10 a.m. Pacific time. Watch our last episode because it was with Reverend Annie, so it was amazing. I rewatched it on the plane, on the flight to San Jose. So, yeah, do that. And I'm on the ground and around. I don't know when I'll be on the ground next.
Lori's too tired to think right now. She's not really sure what day it is. It's fine. It's fine. But you can follow her on Twitter. You can just find her at just look up Glory Jones, and she's the one with the Assange stuff. Yeah. And Slow News Day. Don't forget Slow News Day. Everybody go watch it. Okay, I'm Misty. You can. I don't like doing any of this shit. Just watch the vigils Wednesdays at 9. My new show is starting this week. I just recorded the first 2 episodes today, one with Andy Worthington and one with Doctors for Assange. I don't know when those are coming out. This is the whole thing is new. They're having me do a whole bunch of new shit. So, but that's on TNT Radio. They're sending me to Freedom Fest next month. That's going to be awesome. Scott Horton, who we just had on the show, is also going to be there. So I'm going to get set up with him so we can do an interview. So look out for that stuff. They're going to be sending me other places. I'm hoping they'll send me to Boston so I can hook up with the Boston crew. I've always wanted to protest with them, so that would be dope. Pretty sure I can probably make that happen. So yeah, and then I'm on Twitter all the time. Just you guys know where to find me. I hate all this shit. You guys know where to find me. Fuck it. Go, Andrew.
We got Julian's birthday coming up. We got the March for Medicare for All coming up in early July.
There's something else I'm missing in later.
And the damn wars, September 11th,
Yeah,
and the damn
September
wars.
and the damn wars. I thought there was something else in July. What are the other?
The anniversary of the collateral murder incident is July
20th.
20th?
I think 20th.
I don't know.
But there's tons of events. There's tons of reasons that you can go out and do absolutely anything. So do what you can with the time and money that you have. It's important to act now. There's not going to be. We have to use the free speech while we have it left. Right.
Word. That's a good place to end it. Okay, we love you guys. We'll see you next week.